breaking news.
Good evening, everyone. Breaking news, a verdict in the Jerry Sandusky trial sex abuse case. Jerry Sandusky moments ago arrived at the courthouse to face the jury that will decide if he goes to jail. I'm Darieth Chisholm. Thanks for being with us tonight. Jerry Sandusky is learning his verdict right now. The jury finished 2 long days of deliberations about a half hour ago before reaching a decision tonight. Channel 11's Courtney Brennan joins us live outside of the courthouse. So, Courtney, what's happening now?
Well, Darieth, this is the moment we have all been waiting for. The entire nation is watching. After more than 12 hours of deliberations today and 8.5 hours of deliberations yesterday, we finally have a verdict in the Jerry Sandusky case. Everyone wants to know, what did the jury decide? Did they decide to go with a prosecution who categorized Jerry Sandusky as a serial predatory pedophile who preyed on children that he came into contact with through his Second Mile charity? Or will the jury decide with Jerry Sandusky's defense attorney, Joe Amendola, who categorized Jerry Sandusky as just a big kid who wanted to help other kids, and that these alleged victims are in a conspiracy together and they are out to get Jerry Sandusky and they are out to get his money? We will find that out shortly. The verdict could actually be read right now in the courtroom. We will not find out what that verdict is until the entire verdict is read and the judge adjourns court for the evening. Now, Sandusky faces 48 counts of child sexual abuse, and 26 of those are felonies. 22 are misdemeanors. If Jerry Sandusky is convicted on only a few of those felonies, he could spend the rest of his life in prison, because many of those felonies carry mandatory prison sentences of 10 to 20 years. And we all know that Sandusky is 68 years old, so he could absolutely spend the rest of his life in prison. The most serious charges Jerry Sandusky faces are involuntary deviant sexual intercourse, unlawful contact with a minor, aggravated indecent assault, and endangering the welfare of a child. Here it is. Here it is. 45?
45 counts guilty.
45 counts?
45 counts, only 2 not guilty.
Okay. Jerry Sandusky was found guilty on 45 counts. 45 counts he was found guilty, only 2 not guilty counts of indecent assault. Renee Kaminsky, who was in the courtroom, says Jerry was stunned. 45 counts, Jerry Sandusky was found guilty on 45 counts. Only 2 counts he was found not guilty on. My colleague Renee Kaminsky, she was in the courtroom and says Jerry Sandusky was absolutely stunned when the verdict was read and that Dottie cried. There were cheers here on the steps of the Center County Courthouse here in Bellefonte, and we expect to hear very soon from the attorneys for the victims and then also from the Attorney General's office. This is an incredible moment for them. As I mentioned, the Attorney General herself, Linda Kelly, she is here. After 2.5 years of investigating Jerry Sandusky, tonight it culminates in this, a validation of all their hard work. Again, Jerry Sandusky found guilty on 45 counts, not guilty on 2 counts of indecent assault. That is the latest here from Center County.
For those of you all joining us here on Channel 11 News, as we just said, we've learned that there has been obviously a verdict in this case against Jerry Sandusky, guilty on 45 counts, 2 not guilty of the counts that he faced in total. Joined now with Blaine Jones. He is our legal expert. You've been watching this case with us for some time. This came relatively quickly. 2 days of deliberations. We got the word that the jury had reached a verdict probably about a half hour ago, and now these counts, 45 of them found not guilty.
Darieth, it came quickly. However, it is not a shock. I predicted that it would come by Friday. I thought it would come by this weekend. Reason being, the evidence was simply overwhelming against Mr. Sandusky. I thought that the defense, unfortunately, did not come out aggressive. If you have a case and the evidence is overwhelming against your client, you come out like Mike Tyson. You come out swinging. You come out with haymakers. In my opinion, they came out tentative. They threw pity-pat jabs, and as a result, Mr. Sandusky gets knocked out.
I just left the courtroom, and I have to tell you, Dottie was crying the entire time. Jerry looked absolutely stunned as the verdict was read, and it was read by counts. I watched the jury when they came in. They never even looked over at Jerry Sandusky, and as they read the count one by one, and it was very, very solemn in that courtroom, Jerry just stared at the jury and just seemed like he was in absolute shock at the whole thing. I looked over, and there was Dottie and all her family members, everyone that she had come into court with, which included her daughter, and it looked like the family family members that she had been in court all week with, including some good friends of hers. They were reaching over and trying to comfort her. The judge said, "Mr. Sandusky, you have been judged guilty by a jury of your peers." He then revoked bond for Jerry Sandusky and remanded him into sheriff's custody. So Jerry Sandusky walked out of the courtroom in handcuffs, his head down, and I have to tell you, he looked really stunned by the jury's verdict. Again, 45 guilty counts. There was not a word in that courtroom because Judge Cleland, he warned everyone, "I will have you arrested if you say anything. I will not tolerate any kind of outburst in my courtroom." So it was really, really fascinating how this all came about and how quickly it was read. We thought we would be in there for about 45 minutes as the judge, the jury foreman read count by count, but he actually went pretty fast, and then the judge, they polled the jury, and the jury actually one by one said guilty, 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 guilty. Only 2 not guilties, and those were the indecent assaults, and 1 involuntary deviant sexual intercourse not guilty. But as you heard, I came out the steps, gave Courtney the information to bring to you first, and the whole place was erupting. People were cheering, and lots of applause here on the courthouse steps.
Jerry Sandusky leaving the courtroom, as you can see there, in handcuffs, being reprimanded into the sheriff's custody. This man, of course, just found guilty on 45 counts in these sex abuse cases that we've followed for some time. He is quickly being, escorted right to the county jail, the prison there in Center County. And here are a number of people perhaps asking questions or responding, but he is now a man who is facing some serious jail time.
I'm joined by Wes Oliver. He's been our legal expert and our legal analyst up here, helping us sort through all the different things in this trial. And Wes, 45 counts guilty, 3 counts not guilty. Your take?
Well, we weren't terribly surprised by this result. You could see in the jury's questionings when they came back, they wanted to know 2 things. They wanted to hear Mike McQueary's testimony read back to them. Mike McQueary wasn't entirely sure what he saw. They came back with a not guilty count in the most serious of allegations from the Mike McQueary testimony. Mike McQueary didn't actually say he saw the facts necessary for the most serious counts against the victim or involved in the victim for which he offered the testimony. So they had McQueary's testimony read back. After they did, they went back and deliberated, and then they called for the testimony from victim 8. Victim 8 was the other victim whom we were not able to identify, who was observed by a janitor when Sandusky was allegedly performing sex acts on him. But he described specific sex acts that he witnessed. So
his was stronger testimony, you felt?
In a way, well, actually, his testimony provided specific details that Mike McQueary could not provide. McQueary saw both of these men from the back, and Sandusky was substantially taller than the young boy whom he was standing behind.
Well, let's talk about if we think that Jerry Sandusky is surprised at all, if Joe Amendola is surprised at all, because you and I were both in the courtroom, and then we spoke after, and I know we reported it several times. Joe Amendola gave one heck of a closing argument for Jerry Sandusky, and after that closing argument, there were many people in that courtroom who wondered, did he plant those seeds of doubt? Do you think Amendola and Sandusky are surprised?
Well, we know Amendola's not surprised because he was telling reporters reporters during the break that he would have a heart attack if Jerry was acquitted on all the counts.
I want to take you to reaction just after the verdict was read of the crowd outside, as Courtney was just discussing. Let's take a listen.
Yes, yes.
The Sandusky family is very disappointed, obviously, by the verdict of the jury, but we respect their verdict. You may recall, for those of you who have been with this case from the beginning, that we said that we had a tidal wave of public opinion against Jerry Sandusky and the charges filed against him.
To bring these charges to light, to bring this case to court, and to see the day that this defendant, a serial child predator who committed horrific acts upon his victims, causing lifelong and life-changing consequences for all of them, has been held accountable for his crimes.